Hello, everybody. Welcome yet again to another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. My name is Tish, and today I'm really excited to have a very dear sister of mine, Naomi Love, with us. And Naomi and I met about 3 years ago when she launched a beautiful summit of hers. And I had a group on Facebook where we talked about everything womb healing, womb awakening, really walking the path of discovering ourselves through our center and our wombs. And so today it's such an honor and a great pleasure to have you here, Naomi. I would love for you to introduce yourself a little and maybe share where you are currently in the world, and then we can go from there.
Aloha beauties. Thank you for having me, love. And I am currently in Boulder, Colorado in the mountains. And last night there was a mountain lion in my backyard,
Wow.
which was quite amazing because I'm not that close to the mountains. So that was a interesting medicine to receive. And to tell you a little bit about me, I have been in the healing arts for my whole life, and I have been studying since I was very young and have been in private practice for over 25 years. And I've seen over 60,000 clients in my career. It's a lot of people that I have touched. And I've trained 70 practitioners in my holistic system of medicine that I have woven together through all of my education into something that really works with all beings in all stages of life on all levels, and that is Wise Womb Medicine. And the school is my biggest living devotion. And through the school, we offer so many different things, and it has been a journey to take all that I have embodied and learned from being in private practice and all of my education of traveling the world and all of my experiences and making it into something that is tangible and viscerally received by humanity. So
Mm,
that is a little glimpse into my world.
beautiful. Thank you so much. That's incredible. Wow. So, how many students? 17?
7D.
Oh, wow. That is
We have
incredible.
70 certified wise womb practitioners out there in the world across 8 countries.
Wow. That is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank
I know
you.
that was such an exciting thing for you to birth when we just met. And
Yeah,
now,
I've been doing the apprenticeship since 2015, I think, ish, 2014,
wow.
but not in the form of Wise Women Medicine Path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. So, one of the things that really caught my eye and sparked this invitation to have this conversation is one of the emails that I received from your newsletter that shared, do these four simple things during quarantine time. And I zoomed into that email and I just like connected to all of the beautiful things that you shared, and I was like, yes, Naomi, you have this. Like, it's all about the simplicity. So I'm curious to know, what does it feel like for you, and what does it look like for you to be grounded into simplicity, especially during these times of great shifts and movement and uncertainty? If you want to maybe share with us a little about that.
Thank you. Well, I feel like, and many people don't feel this way, so please don't compare to my feeling. If you don't feel this way, it's totally okay. I feel sort of like I've been training for this my entire life. And when this happened, I was deeply able to, within myself, because of the way I've set my life up, which is a very unusual way of living. It's very outside of the norm that everyone typically is in. I was really able to lean back and be in a place that I could see a bigger picture. I could tap into the collective fabric of what's happening within the undercurrent of humanity, within our spirits, within our energetic bodies, within our emotional terrain. And I feel like the first thing was the great pause. And now we're further into that pause than I think we're all comfortable with now.
Yes.
There's a place where now we're feeling like, how long is this? Yeah, is this over yet? Like, what is going to happen? And I immediately, so for me, it was a very different experience because I know all the herbs, I know all the wild foods, I know how to survive in nature, I know how to forage. Like, I was like, wow, this is like finally all my skills will be used, you know? And I can help with the emotional part. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And I was surprised, though, by myself that I was able to drop into a grounded state so easily. And I know that, this is what I do, but we're also all human, and so I was kind of surprised, and it felt so it was like, okay, this is a collective request to pause and to slow down. And we never get this opportunity ever
Yeah.
in our lives, where we have to sleep in, wear PJs all day. And, for those of us who have the privilege of home and comfort of those, but it really to slow down and then to be present with who we are, because we're typically so forward moving
Yeah.
and we're so heady, not in the Grateful Dead way, but heady, like in our heads, that we're like moving so far forward and we're very disconnected from our bodies. So I feel like the beginning time was definitely feeling like this is quite an opportunity to drop in and really get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mm, I love that. Yes. No.
And go ahead.
No, for sure. I can definitely, resonate with that. For me, what happened right as this kind of hit off, everybody was going online, doing Facebook Lives and doing all these things and kind of like, just like putting it out there. And all I could think of doing was like going, like pulling myself in and like really like I didn't want to go out and do, I wanted to sleep and I wanted to do these things, and yet I also had like this guilt of like I should be doing something, or like this voice in my head telling me like go go go, now's the time to like pivot, as everybody's saying. But I feel like really when it sank in is when I sat on the ground, literally just sat on the ground and tuned into your email and took a few breaths and really received that this is a sacred pause, and that I can see this as a way of like self-nourishing, because especially for us that travel so much, like I don't get time to do that. So yeah, but I'm curious, if what if you, speaking of this grounding in, like what was your tools for, especially you traveling so much, and I know you teach a lot of these things, but what did you actually like hone in for grounding?
Yeah. So the short answer is resonance. It's attuning to your energetic system, which we're not really connected to very much. But if you think about like how you feel when you go to the Mac store, like Apple, and you sit at the Genius Bar versus how you feel when you're in nature. And so to do things that make you feel more like how it feels when you go in nature,
Yeah.
which means for me, like baths and soups and soft, like music, or like gentle sounds and yummy smells. So I have like way too many tools in my toolbox, which is why I have an entire system of medicine that is very complex that I teach. It's like ridiculous. Quite a medicine bag over here. And the simple things is, when we close our eyes, we have this amazing tool that is always with us from the moment we take our first breath to the moment we take our last. And the breath holds within it all that we need to know. So when I have a client that comes to me and they get on my table and they're like, yep, I'm super relaxed. And then they take a breath and nothing moves anywhere. And you're like, aha. So you're thinking you're relaxed, but we're not actually feeling relaxed. So this time that we're in, we have an opportunity continually, because it might go on for a little bit longer, to continually check in with our breath in any given moment, whether we're worried about the future, whether we're worried about money, whether we're worried about health, whether we're worried about economic crisis. global climate change, whatever it might be that has us outside of ourselves, we can come back to the breath. And if your breath is in a state of contraction, what is that telling you? What is that information in your system? So when we're holding our breath, we're actually telling our system it's not safe.
Mm.
So when we breathe, we're telling our system it's safe to be here right now. You hold your breath when you got to run from a freaking bear or the mountain lion in my backyard. Don't run, right? Don't run. But it's our 911 state. And if we're holding our breath, then life force energy is not flowing.
Mm.
The breath is actually life. Without it, you're gone. And so when we're holding our breath, we're actually stopping life force energy from moving through our body. So the number one thing that we all have in our toolbox is the breath.
Mm.
And isn't it interesting that the coronavirus attacks the lungs?
Yes.
The holders of grief and attachment, right? And so let's pause, let's close our eyes, and just without changing anything, you don't have to take a deep breath, you don't have to do anything special. You just breathe and let your body, let your breath show you how you're feeling, how you're doing. You might notice that your chest does not move when you breathe. You might notice your belly is holding tension and only your chest is moving. You might notice your eyes are scrunched or that your jaw is tense. And so we come into one of the foundational practices I teach, and that is the art of inner alchemy. It's the ability to notice what's present and being with it rather than trying to change it, so that you understand what it's trying to teach you. Because your breath is teaching you how you're feeling. Your mind thinks, your body feels. And then you might notice that as you're breathing, as you're paying attention, as you're noticing, that you want to deepen your breath even more. It just becomes natural, because where your attention goes, energy begins to flow. And then you might want to bring more intention and attention to your breath. So calling the fullness of your breath, making yourself wider, bigger, taller through your inhale. And then just let it all go. The exhale is expiration. It's just, there's no effort. You just sink. You just allow. And as you focus on the breath, you might notice that the mind goes somewhere. So that's showing you that you're not here. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. And then you might start to call yourself here, if that's what feels good. Meaning, if your mind is worried about something, come back to this moment, come back to the breath. The breath, slow and fluid, teaches your body, teaches your system that it's safe to be here right now. You don't have to be in a state of 911. The breath is our greatest helping spirit, our greatest teacher. We have so much we can learn about ourselves through witnessing our breath. Hmm.
Mm.
What are you noticing, love?
Wow. Yeah, it was really interesting because as we started, I started having tingling sensations and then it moved up to my throat. And I've noticed what happened for me the first few weeks of the corona is I went into a deep release of grief. And Naomi, to be really honest with you, I don't even know what I'm grieving anymore. And so maybe you can speak to this a little because it's like, now we start to like, yes, feel our feelings more deeply and start to like turn our gaze inward and be present with what is. But what do we actually do when we get overwhelmed or when we don't know what it is or trying to make sense of it? Like I'm sure there's many listeners out there that maybe bump into some old anger or new anger. I don't know. Maybe you can touch a little on that for us.
Yeah, go to my school. Just kidding. Yeah, I have a whole lot of practice, a lot of the magic box, all of it comes out. But one thing that is really, really important to remember, or to actually, I'm teaching this resonance ritual mentorship in May, and we offer it multiple times a year. And the reason why I offer this ritual is because we need to learn to build emotional intelligence. And we don't always know what we're feeling. We don't always know why we reacted a certain way to a certain situation, why, when we're triggered, we said that thing that you're like, why we're like crying when we don't, like, we watch something and we're weeping and we're sobbing, but we don't understand like what that is, or when we're feeling right now, many of us are feeling more than is ours to feel. But until we know ourselves and what we feel like, it's going to be challenging to understand what's yours and what isn't yours. We have to get to know our own unique energetic makeup in order to understand what we're feeling, what is ours, what is you, and what is me, what is the collective, what is my honey, what is my dog, what is the neighborhood. And so whenever emotions are overwhelming to the point where you can't hold them or process them, that is one of the keys to know that you've absorbed more than is your energy. When you are feeling really confused and can't think straight, that is another tell to know that I've absorbed something that isn't mine here. And collectively, and then you can start to look, I'll say this, you can start to look, how much news are you watching? How many people have you interacted with during the day? How many people's stories have you heard? And what have you done to come back to yourself? Because if you think about it, we're like I just had the picture of the coronavirus map in my mind, but not in a gross, scary way, but in the way that we're all interconnected.
Mm.
So it's showing us that, like, if I'm blue and I touch you, talk to you, touch you, we become a color together. And then when I walk away and you walk away, we both have residual of the color of the other person with us. And so each interaction we have, each thing we see, each thing we take in has an impact on our energetic structure. And if we don't do something to return to just us, to return to our sovereignty, to our energetic makeup, we're meant to be individual while also interconnected.
Mm.
And so, how do you find yourself beyond all the stories you've heard that day, beyond all the news that you read, beyond all the shows that you watched or the books that you read? You know that we all take work home with us, right? What do you do to let work go so that you can enjoy being at home in the same way. One of those practices is breath. And then these are when we start to build in what I call spiritual prescriptions. What is your spiritual prescription? Not spiritual in some woo woo way, but you're a spirit in a body. Your breath is the spirit of you, your heart beating. Okay. So, what prescription do you need that will help you feel more like you?
Mm.
And what do you feel like? And we have to get in touch with that. And I think a lot of people may not know what that feels like.
Mm.
I even see it with the tens of thousands of clients is we think we know until you have that experience and you're like, oh, that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it feels like to be in my true nature. Oh,
Beautiful. Wow. I absolutely love that term of the spiritual prescription. And, I love how you break it down, because I feel like a lot of times when we talk spiritual, we think, oh, some woo woo thing, which really is just the breath that we're breathing, right, in this body that we're embodying. So, um, I'm curious to dive a little deeper into the conversation about, I know you're a medicine mama, and, you've had all these years of really like finding yourself and your medicine to the world. But I believe that there is a great shift happening right now in a collective way. And maybe that shift is as tiny as someone just waking up and feeling their heart for the first time, or feeling their emotions for the first time, or understanding that we have a choice if we want to go to work from 9 to 5, or that we have a choice, do we want to drink the things we drink and eat the things that we eat. There's just this subtle shift happening. And so you know that's kind of like what happened when I started waking up, when I started becoming more aware and more conscious. And I'm curious to know, when did that happen for you, or how was your process like, and what advice can you give to those that are just at that point of like feeling this sense of difference in their life?
my journey has been different because I was like born as it. So I didn't have a moment where I was like, oh, I'm changing course now. It's like what I've been doing since I got here, you know? Um, which also sounds really cool, y'all, but it's also a fucking pain in the ass. So just say it. It's not like easy and perfect and beautiful. So I want to speak to that because I feel like oftentimes like awakenings and these kinds of things, like we idealize them, and I just want you to know that they can also be like hard. The path of like the healer can also be challenging. It's not all like pretty crystals everywhere. It's messy with the F word in front of that. And so for me, it was the path of my life, but the path of my life was that of a lot of challenge and a lot of struggle, which continually forced me to stay in this. I was like, I didn't choose it, I was chosen. And so it was like, what the, she is, oh, you know? So that's my answer to that. But it doesn't mean that I don't always have to attune myself. We constantly have to attune ourselves. And so when you're hearing the guidance, the most important skill set is to trust yourself. But we often are mishearing. We're not listening to the right voice. So attune yourself, whatever you can do that makes you feel joy, basically. When you go into nature, how do you feel? That feeling, Marie Kondo, when it's time to organize your closets and she's like, look at the shirt, does it bring you joy? If it doesn't, like, no. Basically, Marie Kondo, everything. She like simplified it so well and so cutely.
Oh God.
Basically, choose things that bring a little joy, a little elation, a little spark within your system. And so if you're hearing messages, if there's a little lightness, a little effervescence, a little joy around it, then that is something more we can trust, if that makes sense. Because sometimes there's something else in there that's talking,
Yeah.
that's really loud, that's very convincing in its thought form and the stories that it tells, that actually take us away from our navigational system.
Mm.
And so right now we have an opportunity as a collective to dream not a new earth, a new way of being on earth, a new way of being in right relationship with ourselves. And one of the keys to that is stop overriding yourself. So allow yourself to begin to fail and flubber through. What is it like to not override myself? Are you tired? Rest. Are you thirsty? Drink some freaking water. Do you have to pee, or do you sit there and hold it and try to finish something you're working on? Are you hungry? Make nourishing food. What food would be nourishing for your body? And so once we start doing that for ourselves, we can also start to do it for each other. And right now we're seeing the effect of the patriarchal indoctrination of societal conditioning that we all are a part of. We all hold it within ourselves and within our relationships, how we relate to ourselves, each other, and to the earth. This is the effect of it, what's happening to the earth right now, the state of the world that we're in right now. We have created because we have been overriding it. And now it's time to tune in, to turn down the volume, to tune in, to slow down, and to make a new way. And we can't do that from forcing it from our mind. We can't do that with fighting and battling breast cancer, and battling global climate change. We do that with love, and not the cheesy word love. Full embrace, highest vibe, whole everything, because love actually includes all the crap we don't love. It's inclusive. We do that by connecting with the spirit of love. And how do we do that with ourselves? How can we bring that in to how we relate to ourselves, the things we do, the choices we make, the actions we take, the interactions we have?
Beautiful. I love that. Yes, yes, to coming back to joy. And I love how you describe that little effervescent, because I think sometimes we can get so blinded by joy needs to look this way, and bliss needs to feel this way. And, it's part of my values at Satchitananda, and it's something that I always come home to. And it's like you say, it's like even just that slightest tingle or that sensation or that remembrance, like people is like, yeah, but how does love really feel? And I'm like, okay, imagine someone that you have loved the most in your life, that times a million, but bring that feeling into your being. And if someone haven't loved you, or you haven't loved someone that way, then imagine that, create that for yourself. Because I feel like it's the more that we can call in that vibration of love, we can be it and we can live it at every moment. And the same with joy. So yeah.
Yeah, we have to start to question what we believe love is, because it's not what we think it is. And so coming into, when somebody asks me, what does love feel like? I say to imagine your most favorite place in nature. How do you feel when you're in that place in nature? When you see the whales breaching in the ocean and the rainbow mist coming off of their blowhole and the dolphins spinning and jumping in the water, how does that make you feel? Take that feeling in and breathe it into your body. And it's also not to say that when you choose the thing that brings you a little spark, that it's not going to be also a challenging path. But we go where there's flow. And so that little spark is a little spark reminding you that there is potential for flow here, where the heavy sense of dread is not flow. Not flow and flow. Dread, not flow.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, being in flow has become such a favorite word for people, like we're in flow, whatever. But it's really simple. It's like that feels good in the body, that doesn't feel good. If you're feeling good, go with the flow. If not, we're going upstream. So yeah, it's just super interesting. I'd love for you to speak a little bit more about, I know that you were planning on having more in-person sessions, and now most of your stuff is already online. What is currently coming up that people can kind of tune into to learn? Because I feel now more than ever, these teachings that you offer and this work that you do is of such an important for us, and especially as women, to come home to. So I'm curious, maybe you can speak a little bit about what's coming up.
I have goosebumps as you're saying that.
Yeah.
So right now I have put together the Resonance Ritual Mentorship. It's 3 months, kind of intensive immersion, and we go through all sorts of different. The first 7 modules are pre-recorded, and they teach like the foundation of all of this work, how to do this kind of stuff without spiritually bypassing. And spiritual bypassing is really popular in the spiritual community because we're like, no, choose joy. And
Yeah.
then we're like kind of denying all the crappy stuff. And so, but you don't have to be afraid of what you're going to find. It's like not scary when we have the tools. It's actually so empowering because whatever we deny takes up a lot of energy. Yeah. And whatever we embrace becomes part of who we are. So there's an owning of that, which is also empowering, right? It's like owning ourselves. So the mentorship and resonance has really just been the one key. I mean, I've sat with the masters of our times, Muji and the Dalai Lama. Like I spent a year with the Dalai Lama, and I've spent a lot of time in this realm. And I always was finding like something wasn't bringing it into reality. Like, how do you bring your spiritual practice into real life situations when you're getting like attacked on the side of the road or something? Like, how do you like, we're like, oh, yoga, and then everyone's an asshole when you leave the class, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, why? I don't understand. Like, why can't we? Kindness, I don't know. Like, why isn't there this like meshing? And so the resonance work has been the thing that has brought it all together and helped it all to make so much more sense and gives it tangible, applicable ways to embody this kind of work, to build a relationship to yourself, to your intuition, to Mother Nature, which then actually all affects and influences how we relate to everything because it's not all separate. So that's the next thing coming up. And then we have our womb temple, which is when I do a guided journey into apprenticing with your own womb space, which includes all of the sort of self-applied sacred needs, wise womb medicine work, and how to bring all of that in, and the resonance work has to be the foundational piece because it gets you attuned to your true nature. Because I want to say trust your intuition, but most of our intuition is off. We've got our calibration is just off, so it's wrong. And so then we're like, but I was listening to my intuition, and why can't I hear it? And so in order to do womb work, I've really seen the traumatic effects of people going in to try to do that kind of work and not have foundational framework of how to navigate themselves well with intelligence and with love. And so the resonance work builds into the then inviting people into the womb temple. And the first year, it's like 13 moons. And we journey to apprentice with your own womb and build that relationship to your body and your inner oracle and to nature. And it's like super, if you, for those who don't know me, I'm very inclusive. So it's always got nature and animals, and there's all the pieces are all in there, like tucked in nicely. Like I got all the yummies, in there. And I like to curse sometimes, drop a little F-bomb too. So those are the two main ones. And then I offer certifications for practitioners, but those are the prereqs in order to apprentice with me.
Awesome.
To become a practitioner.
Are you currently offering like one-on-one sessions, or like, for women?
So I offer remotes. Yeah, thank you. I'm like, there's always so many offerings, I can get lost in them. So I also offer one-on-one remote sessions and couples as well. I do a lot of relational alchemy with couples. And basically, we can go wherever you need to go because that's my skill set.
Amazing.
So
Well, I will definitely put all of your website information and IG handles and all the things in the comments below here on this video for people to find you. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave us with or share before we close this call?
Yes. Yes, my loves. So let's all just take a moment, if you have the time and space, to just close your eyes and deepen your breath, and maybe even place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. And just calling your breath into this body. Letting your eyes soften, letting your jaw soften. And breathe into your heart space. One more full breath into the heart. Maybe even a sigh through the exhale. And if you feel called to just say, I am safe. It is safe to be here right now in this moment. And just remember your breath. Remember your breath as your greatest teacher. And take a moment to just give thanks. Give thanks for this body, this moment, your home, your food, your relationships, this beautiful earth. Good, my loves. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Naomi. It's been such a pleasure. And yes, to all of you who are interested, I'll send all the information here at the bottom. And thank you so much for watching another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. I look forward to seeing you to the next one. Have a beautiful day. So